Fine, you've done the assessment. You've said, okay, Samson is not able to write or sit still. He prefers being under the table. Then you start to work on that.
Yes.
You set objectives. And are they time bound? Okay, so what are you going to say to the parent? You're going to say, Mommy Samson, Daddy Samson, give us 6 months, give us 2 years, then Samson will sit. How do you go about that process? How long does it take for Samson eventually to get to where he needs to be?
There is a lot of information around, and lately I'm so much interested in information about health.
Okay.
But I get I get hesitant, let me use that word, when I land on this information and it is telling me there is this pill. If you swallow it, in 2 weeks you will not have a belly.
You will lose weight.
You don't have a
women.
pot belly. So I
Wait,
well
wait,
I'm not
people Ozempic scam,
I didn't even know it was there.
but I hear you.
I've not been able to dig so deep to find out whether that should be, I should rely on it.
That.
But I'm a bit hesitant. Yeah, maybe if I get more time I can dig and find out. But some people say they try it and it works. I've heard some people say it, but for me I'm hesitant trying it. What am I trying to bring up is yes, those guys do that. I've not been in their professional training, but on this side, yes, we set objectives which are time bound.
Okay.
Yeah. Along the way, while we are working on these objectives, we are also deeply interacting with this person.
Okay.
You get a point and you judge that, okay, I think this target, I've put a lot of time on it. Yeah. How else can I approach it? Yeah. What okay, if I've been using this technique, what is another technique saying?
Okay, to
Yeah.
achieve the same.
What is it talking about this? We have a platform, and many times people are sharing. When you read through, you see you yes, I've been in this practice for the last, I mean, for since 2010.
Yes.
But there are some questions that people ask, and I'm like, I haven't seen this. So you wait to see what other people are going to say.
Nice.
So you read through and you're like, oh, there are some of our colleagues who are working abroad. There's some guys, especially guys who are working in the UK, and they share, give some some information about some things, and you're like, okay, I hadn't met this. So we keep sharing. But also, when you judge and you see this goal is given enough, you want to find out what else can I do? What else can I do about this? Yeah. In the physical being of a person, this is common in the physical being of the person, that there is that level where you're like, I think this hand will do better with an assistive device.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can get to that level. Yes, so they are levels, they are stages.
Okay.
Progressive.
It's
It is
progressive.
progressive. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
It's progressive. And I think as you're setting those strategies, you don't overpromise. Right? I think it's a step-by-step strategy that you set.
Yes.
You say maybe we'll
I
go
hope
from-
I've answered your
I
question.
think you've answered the question,
But
yeah.
there's what you say, in your question there was that part that that was talking about time.
Yes.
Yeah?
Because, parents have pressure. No? It's internal, it's from the family, it's from society. 4-year-old, we called him Samson. He wasn't in kindergarten. Everybody's friend, we gave birth at the same time. Yes,
The pressure.
the
out
pressure. So
there.
that so
Yes.
when we say the objectives are time bound, for them their time is yes, after I've gotten Fred and Fred has worked with this child.
After 2 months.
Yes, after 2 months.
I have to see.
Yes, we are losing time. So yeah, that was the yes. There is supposed to be now he's not. The school has sent him away. Yes, how can we speed it up? Yes.
So
Yeah.
one, I cannot speed the time,
Okay.
but I can manage my goal. I will say I will use this approach to do this. These times for this long, every single time, for these times in
Yes.
a day or in a week or
Yes.
something,
Yeah.
for this period.
And then we reassess after.
And then after
Okay.
after that period, I check and see how far I
How
am.
far are you?
Yeah. Then I also compare. Now I've got this far. Do I really need to give this intensity?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I assess that.
Okay.
Now I've got this far.
Okay.
Do I really need to? Can I pass it on to another part, to maybe to the teacher? Yeah,
Carry it
I
carry it
I
through,
give him
yes.
tactics to sustain my achievement,
Absolutely.
and at that point I can tell that if she sustains my achievement and use this tactic and use that technique, this skill will gradually
grow, will improve.
progress. Yeah, so
Yeah.
in that kind of way, I will not be able to tell you that
There's a
There's a
specific
specific-
there's a specific time.
I think it's
I
nice
can
that you
only
brought it
manage
out.
my goal.
Your goal. I think you've brought it out nicely
Yes.
because parents and maybe the thing to note here is to be patient. And I think the abilities of the child are what will determine what you can get out of where they are, I think. And I think you had started to expand on it, that they're building blocks. Certain skills have to be learned first before others can be learned.
Yes.
But I think as parents, we don't see that. That if a child is not doing this, the chances are very high that they'll not also do this. Let's first deal here, which for you haven't seen, and then that might take a little longer. Yeah. So I think the thing is, occupational therapy, to remind ourselves, is not a cure, but then also we can't put a time limit on it. It will happen when it happens.
Also dealing with a human being.
With a human
I think every once in a
brain.
while we need to remind
Yes.
ourselves
Mm.
that
Also,
you know.
I think just for the parent not to get too agitated, don't throw the child there and say, here is the child, do your thing, and you come out of it.
Yes.
I feel if you're part of the process, if you're following the strategies, maybe getting regular updates, you could set your times and say, maybe let's have a meeting every fortnight.
Yes.
Just to check in on progress, on where you are. And even you as the parent, you may have something to contribute, information to give back to the OT that would help. in-
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
continuity as well, because I'm sure, like even with teachers and speech therapists, I'm sure even with OT, there are certain techniques and what I don't know what words Claire will find a word that are advised to us,
Yes.
and we are supposed to continue with them in our homes and so that we are working together.
Together. You're a team.
Especially because now if we are learning how to dress up and brush our teeth, a lot of the things have to be done at home.
Exactly.
So you can't only wait for when the OT comes
But the child is not dressing.
or brushing their
I've been
teeth.
paying you. Why aren't you doing your job?
Yeah, I think that ultimately, because we say it a lot on this show,
Yes.
and I think it's important that we constantly emphasize it. We cannot be absent
Yes.
from the effort that is required to help our children in all of these processes. So I'm sure even with OT we cannot stress it enough, surely, that it's important for us to be involved.
Yeah.
I think Fred would agree. I think in Fred's practice, the parents have to be involved. Am I right?
So much.
Yes. Yeah. in
So
Fred-
much.
Yes.
So, and I think that will then lead me, I want to paraphrase my question now that we've said that. What would make, from your experience, what makes your practice or occupational therapy with a child? I'm going to continue using the name Samson. We've come up with our child. I like it, yeah. So what would bring success to the occupational therapy with Samson? And then also what makes it harder? Because I know that family context is important. So I want you to speak candidly because we are in these spaces. Tell us what makes more success for you in your experience. Where have you had most success? When what conditions are present? It's a Samson, there are many of them, Samson, Eve, Tina, but you have different families you're working with. But what brings more success? Ignore cognitive ability of a child or whatever, but what makes it more successful for one and not another? Why am I asking this? Because families, we find, and you can attest to this, will jump. After 3 months, they'll sit in that meeting, look at you and listen, and say, I think Fred thing is not working. Let me go and look for Tom. They say, thank you very much, Fred, and off they go. Because they think it's not successful. So maybe you shed a light, what makes it successful or what fails the whole process?
I was watching one of the episodes with Judith,
Yes.
and she mentioned something that, well, it is simple, but I had never come across it and had never even thought about it. She made a statement and said, you cannot give what you don't have. Likewise, I want to borrow that. I think one of the things that is very profound is a therapist being in the position of giving what they have. Yeah. So a therapist's mindset is very important.
Oh, okay.
A therapist's
Okay.
knowledge is very important.
Okay.
A therapist's handling approach is very important. That is one. There is in this game, let me call it a game, there are relationships. If Samson was between me and you, let me call you the sponsor, because I am not sure you are the mother, or I'm not sure you are.
Yes, what I am, the
But
connection, yes.
what I know is you facilitate his program.
Access to you, yes.
So there is a relationship between Samson and me. There is also a relationship between Samson and you.
Yes.
Now, that the number one is stopping here between the relation, is stopping at the relationship between me and Samson. And that one I have control.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Number two is between here.
And
that one I don't have control. Yeah. So, first of all, your relationship with Samson, not in terms of blood or that kind of thing, you know what I'm talking about, but in terms of how do you see Samson?
How do I interact? How do I?
You could see Samson 90% of the times jumping in his bedroom. And you're like, but this guy can never do anything on this world.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
the perception, how I
Yeah.
perceive him.
Yeah, so
Ah,
partly. So
yes,
your
okay.
attitude towards,
Towards him.
Samson. Yeah.
Mm.
I've
That's
watched
good.
that episode with
Yes.
Judith
Yes.
over and over again,
Mhm.
and I really hoped that every parent would
Would
meet
watch
Judith.
it.
So that relationship is very important. Your attitude towards Samson's ability
Yes.
it's what determines whether this is going to go on or not.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's so,
So
deep.
however
wow. That's
however
very- yes.
good Fred would be, however good Freddy's package, remember I said you can't give
Knowledgeable,
what I
you
don't have.
Yes.
However good Freddy's package
Wow.
is, when that is not good, this will be a waste of time.
It's bound to fail.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that relationship is also very important. That relationship stems from one attitude
Yes.
towards Samson's
That's
ability,
right. Yes.
but also still also you cannot give what you don't have. Yeah? You also need to have what you want Samson to have.
To have.
So you need to have patience.
Yes.
You need to be patient with him. I'm just
Agreed, yeah.
pointing out a few.
Yeah.
You need to be patient with him. You need to also understand how important that patience is, not just plainly being patient and waiting forever. Yeah. So
Like the role that the patient plays
yes,
in his
so you need to know
Yes.
how important that patience is. Yeah. When to do what.
Yes.
Yeah. I was doing a training sometime, and one thing that I picked from that training, one of the things that I picked from that training, the trainer kept saying that you always need to think ahead of of the child. You always be thinking ahead of the child. You should always be thinking ahead of the child. So you always need to be thinking ahead of him. Yeah. Yes, he's now 4 years, and he's in teacher Christine's class,
Yes.
and he's struggling. How can me and Fred
Yes.
prepare him to go to prepare him for another level that is
Right.
ahead of him?
Like just
How
might
can
even
we prepare
require
him
more.
now? Yeah. So you need to have what you want to give. Yeah.
Hey.
So these two relationships
Yes. Are important.
Very key.
are key. Are key. Are very key.
I think that's a
This
good
program,
answer. Yes.
Samson's program, cannot move properly when these two
There's a
relationships are
disconnect.
Are disconnected.
are not moving properly.
So you can't work independently.
Exactly.
You
You
can't
have to
work
work
independently.
together.
Yes.
You have to be a team.
Yes.
You have to challenge each other.
Yes.
And I think what he's also saying that I've really, really liked is that thinking ahead.
Yes.
That thinking ahead of the child. Okay, they're here. They are 4, but soon they'll be 7.
Yes.
At 7, what is ahead of them?
Different role,
yes,
different
role,
challenges.
different challenges.
You need to think
Yes.
differently.
Then when they are 7, they are
Yes.
going to be 11.
Yes.
Yes.
Different role,
So
different
you have to
challenges.
be
So you
like
have to
4
be
steps ahead.
constantly, yes, 4 steps ahead.
Yes.
And I think most parents, and actually helping me understand this very well, even myself, we remain at the 4-year-old. This 4-year-old must sit. Okay, they sit, and then what? And I think that's very important, that what you've said.
Yes.
But there's nothing deeper than you can't give
What you don't have for your...
I know.
Like
Yes.
even before you're able to have a vision for your child, do
Yes.
you believe?
Do you believe?
Do
Yes.
you believe that they
can
have
achieve
more?
it,
Like,
yes.
It's almost. And let me not take you into the hole that I have gone into, but it has really taken me back, like to something, like even when, because we're talking about how eventually, whenever we are at a table like this, we eventually talk about the relationship between parents and the therapist, or you
Yes.
know,
Yes.
and we always talk about how that what you literally just described, the relationship that the therapist has with the child, and then the relationship that the parent has. We never talk about the relationship the parent has with the child affecting
The results.
what's going to happen
What the
between
outcomes,
the therapist.
yes.
And I think we've disconnected ourselves so much from that. We think that ultimately, you can help my child learn how to drive. If I've paid you the money, you have evidence-based techniques.
Yes.
You can do that thing. But to remind me to analyze where I am at, I have to tell myself the truth.
Yes.
It's not a thing of deluding oneself. Of course, I believe in my no. Like
Do you
tell yourself the truth. Do
Yes.
you truly
Be
believe
real.
that this can work and that your child can actually be helped and progress and what? And then from there, you will give Fred his opportunity to work with the child and help him get there. I think that's, for me, that's if there's nothing else I take from this conversation, that's my biggest take home. Let me just brood over that.
Maybe let me also throw another spanner in the works. Like in our previous discussions, even ourselves, Patricia, we passed through a stage of denial. So this parent is at that stage. What can you do, or how would you advise or help that parent to bring them to that point where they can also give? Because we know that this is a condition. It has come as a surprise to them. They did not expect it. It is now there. They are now going through that depression. They have reached out to you. What would the first things be, or what would the first? How would you approach it to first bring that parent on board to be able to help that child?
Are they in denial?
Yes. Let's assume they're in denial.
Okay. In our training, we get a bit of training in psycho education or psychotherapy. I know it is a very deep aspect, but we get a bit of training of it. And I think the people who designed our course, they foresaw something like that.
This, yes.
But even when we do that, on the other side, there are things in life that are decision based. Say like love. Love is a decision. Yes, or those other things that bring butterflies come later, but after you made a decision, you make a decision to give Patricia time. Yeah,
True.
to even meet her.
Yes.
You see her and you
Have
make
you
a decision to walk up to her. Yeah, so it is a decision.
Yes.
So if before you make that decision, nothing can happen.
True.
Sometimes the brain, the working, the services of the brain and the heart need to be given the time to make that decision.
Yes.
So what I'm trying to show is even when I have some training about psychotherapy, there is some part I don't have control over.
Yes.
And it is the person who has
decide.
the control over that part.
Yeah.
So now this is with experience, my own experience. Yes, I know people face shocks differently, or
Absolutely.
people embrace shocks differently. But for me, I I dive into it. It
This
Oh,
is
wow.
true.
it
Yeah.
tears me
Lucky
apart,
you.
but I
This is
stay
true.
there.
This
Yeah,
is true.
so that is my technique. And over time, I found myself do this, try to introduce this to people. So when I meet people like that, I tell them what is true about where we are, what we are talking about. Yeah, and I know that over time, hopefully, they can do the decision taking. Yeah, and when they are ready to make that decision, then hopefully we can move together. Yeah, we can decide to hold hands and move together. So sometimes you can do that psychotherapy and
Okay.
it does not do anything.
Yes.
Yeah, but at that time you might not have any other, you might, whatever that is going to change the side of the coin, or that is going to set the stone to roll, you might not have control over it. Yeah, and you will have to give it time. Yeah, so from there I think that knowledge does not hurt. Well, sometimes it does. Maybe, maybe sometimes it does. But to know is
Some kind of power.
Yeah,
It gives you some kind of power. Yes, gives some
thank
kind
you,
of power. Yes.
thank you. So knowing gives you some kind of power.
Power,
So I would want to empower this person with knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
whatever knowledge that I
That you
have,
have.
that I can be able
Okay,
to
okay.
empower them with. And if they are able to make that decision
Yes.
immediately, that would be perfect.
Yes.
If they are not able, I might need to give them
Give them
time.
time. Yes.
Or I might also need to maybe find an alternative, or find something, maybe advice, maybe seeking for counseling.
Proper therapy.
But
Yeah.
at least you've told
Yes.
them.
Told them.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. I think I like that.
I
that
like
that
that
yeah,
too.
telling people the truth. I think we
Yeah.
tend to sugarcoat,
Oh yeah.
Yes.
or we want to give them a lot of hope. Oh, the child will be fine in 1 year. So you want to give them all the sweets, the butterflies you are talking about, the feel good. Eh?
Yeah.
But I think it's better. It will hurt, but they know
Be real with
you are real.
Yeah.
Yes, be real, and let them go and digest and sit with themselves. Eh? Yeah, I think that is helpful. There's a client, I think you also know them, Fred. They took long to adjust, but they brought the child, and you keep working with the child.
Yes.
Then they'll catch up to where you are eventually. I think that's a step. They're sitting in themselves. They're introspecting. You've armed them with all they need. They're just not yet where you are, but they're like, okay, you work. And I think those are parents as well. I think that's the encouragement I would give. When they tell you these things, I know your first instinct is to get angry and run away, yes, and say, this person, Tanja Galiza. How can they say these things? But I think the thing is, okay, they're real. They're not giving me hope, but they're saying, we can work on this objective.
Yes.
Let them work. You go and
Yeah.
sit with yourself, and you will catch up, I think. It's what you're saying. You give it time. And yeah. People, this discussion with Fred is interesting.
I know.
We will need to have you come back, I think, another
Oh
time. Eh?
yes.
I'm sure there are going to be many questions.
Yes.
I'm going to reach out to you.
Yes.
I think also going to look for you. So you have to be ready and expand your calendar. If you were working 8 hours, you might need to now work 10, 12 hours a day, because people probably look for you to support. I hope that is okay. That
It is very fine.
because people, I think sometimes the purpose of this show was to create awareness and bring you these specialists, so that you're sitting alone in your house thinking, what do I do? Where do I go?
Yeah.
Now they're here. Start reaching out, because I think sometimes people want that one-on-one. I don't want everybody to know. My
Yes,
brother
yes,
shouldn't know.
yes,
I've had people say, my family doesn't even know. I've not even told my mother.
Yeah.
I've just come. What can I do? So it's good that you're here, and there are more. We heard you have an association, you have groups that you're in. Yeah, so thank you, Fred, ladies. Should we? Yeah.
Yeah, just to share
that Fred has been in Yona's life, like I had said earlier, for a lifetime. We've worked very well together. He has bonded well. We are real with each other. And I believe Yona is where he is because we've been able to work together as a team. So I wouldn't, I can't stress how important working together with occupational therapists or whoever it is that is in the life of your child is. It's very important, but they also need you. They need you to inform them as they too inform you. So yeah, I hope that is something that can give hope to anyone out there who's watching. So thank you. Till next time.
Please click subscribe
Like
and like and share.
And even in this space of
And any
occupational
questions
therapy.
you have for Fred, you can also put them in the
Yes.
comments and we'll get back to you.